Hello and welcome back to Crafted by Corie. If you're new, I'm Corie. Welcome to my channel. If you are returning, thank you as always for being here. I appreciate you so much. I'm on location today, so that's why I'm not in my craft room. As you can see, I'm getting my voice back. So thank you to all of you who had some wonderful comments for Rich's voiceover last week. But brand new crafts for you this week. Let's go ahead and get right on into the projects. DIY number one. All right, this is the Dollar Tree yard stake, and I have a wood round. I believe that was from the Hobby Lobby. It came in a pack of several of them. I'm getting my handy dandy parchment paper out to protect my surface. And my Adirondack white chalk paint by, I believe this one's Home Decor. It's a plaid product, just like with the Waverly chalk paints. They just have a couple of different lines for whatever reason. But I gave that a good coat of paint, helping it dry. I will paint the other side in a moment, but for right now, I'm just trying to get the stake part off of the picture part of the sign here. I'm using my tin snips. I ended up having to bend it upwards like that. And then I was able to cut it. I wanted to get it as close as possible. It's literally welded onto the sign, and I tried, there was no way to just remove that completely without damaging it from what I could tell. But this worked out just fine. I looked like it had like a little scratch or some paint on it, so I was just trying to get that cleaned up and looking at what it might look like once I get it centered on the sign. I'm just trying to make sure that this is dry, giving it a little bit more heat to get that wrapped up. And then I'll flip it over and paint the other side because, as you all know, I like everything to be finished on both sides. It's just a little pet peeve I have. So I'll go ahead and get that done, and then we'll get down to business on creating the rest of this piece. So get that all nice and dry, and once that's good to go, I'm going to flip it over, but I'm going to fold up my parchment paper. So the reason I like using parchment paper is that the paint doesn't stick to it, but as a result, all that paint that's on there will end up sticking to my piece if I set it down on the paint. So I want to avoid doing that. But going ahead and lining up my little, I don't even know what you'd call this. I think it's made of tin. If you happen to know that it's made of something else, leave me a comment. Let me know what this is actually made of. But for right now, I'm going to call it my little tin scene, using a whole bunch of hot glue on there, getting it lined up and just pressing it down. Be careful because with the metal, it does attract that heat or conduct that heat. So you want to make sure you don't burn yourself. I just found it was a little bit warm, but just be aware of that if you're planning on doing this so that you don't hurt yourself. So once I had that good to go, I went into my stash and I'm going to grab some nautical rope, and I am going to start at the top there with the rope, and I'm going to be attaching it all the way around my piece just using hot glue. I had some hot glue strands there I was trying to pull away, but just running a bead of glue along the edge. I'm going to go just maybe 6 or 8 inches at a time so that the glue doesn't cool down on me too quickly. and make sure that I can make it all the way around, getting that rope secured nicely. So just folding that back, I'll add in some more glue for the next little bit, and then I'll lay that rope down, and I will do that all the way around the piece. And then when I get to the top, I am going to do my best to have those pieces come together. Now, there was a piece of tape on the edge of that that starting point of my rope, and I had left it on there because I didn't want it to unravel while I was working on the piece. But now I'm looking to remove it so that I can try to merge the two ends of rope together here. So I was struggling a little bit with getting it off. So I've got my scissors in there and just gonna snip that and pull that off the rest of the way, trying not to unravel the rope in the process. So going ahead and measuring off where it needs to be trimmed, and I'm going to butt those ends up to one another and use some hot glue to try to seal off the ends and keep them together. Now I will end up hiding or camouflaging, I don't know the right words, something's going to go over the seam here so it won't be visible. But at first I was hoping that I could make it an invisible seam without doing that, but it was not meant to be. So you can definitely see the seam there, but all good because I did start it at the top, which I knew I was going to need a plan B for that to begin with, which is why I started at the top. So now I've got my leftover rope and I'm just trying to figure out how I want that to look. So I've got it knotted, you know, nautical knots and all of that in mind. Just adding some more glue there to try and squish those ends together. But I'm going to end up putting a second part of that knot in that rope that's sitting there on the table. And I mean, you'll see, a picture's worth 1,000 words, right? But I'm going to kind of meld it over the top or mold it over the top of the piece to create a hanger, or at least the illusion of a hanger. And I'm going to tuck the ends of the rope behind the piece. So you'll kind of see how I am wrapping it around. So the knot is kind of like molding around the nautical rope that's already in place. And I'll get this all glued down in just a second. I do want to say thank you again for all of the wonderful comments. Rich and I got such a kick out of reading all of your comments about his voiceover last week. I had completely lost my voice, and so if you didn't see that video, Rich was a trooper and stepped in and did the voiceover for me. You might get a kick out of going back and watching it if you haven't already seen it. But I am starting to get my voice back. Well, I've gradually been getting my voice back. It's the best it's been in a week. So but thank you to all of you that commented on that video. It really made my heart happy, and I appreciate all the encouragement you gave to Rich. It made his day as well. Really, I think he was very nervous and felt a little uncomfortable doing it for me, but your comments all really gave him a boost, and so I am extremely grateful to each and every one of you for that. So thank you with all my heart. But as you can see here, I've got this all glued down, and that's pretty much it. I think this is super cute. It's a fun way to use those Dollar Tree yard stakes. They've got a bunch of different kinds. If nautical is not your cup of tea, they have other kinds. So I encourage you to go and take a look at your Dollar Tree and see what you might be able to come up with. I'm just going to glue this down a little bit more and we're going to be good to go. But that's it. Let me know what you think of this one. DIY number 2. Okay, I have these little trucks from the Dollar Tree. I also had that other little sign box thing, shelf sitter from my stash. I'm going to be using my Crimson by Waverly, my Black by Home Decor, and my Adirondack White from Home Decor. Again, they're all plaid products, just different lines of chalk paint. And I'm going to go ahead and use the white on the truck slats. And I started out with the white because I figured if I got it on other parts of the truck, it would be the easiest to cover up, as opposed to trying to go over black or red with the white and trying to cover that up. So that was the reason I started with the white. I am going to be painting both sides of my truck again, and I will be speeding through this so that I don't bore you to tears with every little bit of paint. But I did the slats, as I said, in white. I'm coming in and doing the bed in and the truck itself in the crimson. And again, I'll make sure that I'm painting both sides. And then I'm going to come in and do the tires. And I did the bumper in black as well. I thought about doing the bumper in silver, and you certainly can do that. But I realized that the silver paint that I have is translucent, and I didn't think I would like the way it looked. So I just opted to use the black paint rather than trying to force silver paint to look silver on a brown background, right? All right, so now I've got this other little sign. Now I could have taken the little screwed the little piece off of the front side of it, but I figured that's going to be the bottom of this piece, and it's a cute little saying. Honestly, I forget what it says now, but it's some sort of a positive affirmation. And I figured, you know what, I'm going to leave it on there. If I ever look at the bottom of the truck, it'll be a cute little positive affirmation on the truck. So I painted the backside or the two sides of that piece, and as well as the top edge, right? Because those are the parts that are going to be visible. And I am going to be gluing the other two sides. So I honestly didn't want paint on those sides, so that the glue will hopefully adhere better than if I had put paint on it. Now, obviously I've got paint on the truck itself, so hopefully that won't be an issue long term with the adhesion, but I figured best to have the raw material with the glue on it. So that's what I did there. I think I'm just waiting for my hot glue to get warm enough, because when I don't use it for a while, it shuts off. So I was waiting for my hot glue to heat up, and now I've got it going enough that I can get some glue on there. And then I am going to apply it to the truck. And I had been talking about doing something along these lines when I did my Dollar Tree haul and shared these trucks. And then one of my sweet subscribers shared that she had created a planter out of hers. And I was highly encouraged by that comment to give this a go myself. So that's what I'm going to be doing here. I am applying the other side here. I'll go ahead. I was just trying to make sure I knew how I was going to get it lined up. Adding the hot glue and then applying the other side. I'm going to flip it up here pretty quick while the glue is still warm, so that I can make sure that it is resting straight on the surface and not going to be like wobbly. So then I grabbed my floral foam, and I'm going to kind of mark it off there. You're going to see me tap it there just to mark the edge of that truck bed so that I can tell where I need to cut it. It kind of just made like a little dent in the foam, so I knew where the cutting edge was. You're going to see it pops right in there now. A really good fit. I'm going to cut it in half because it was sticking way too far over the truck bed. Just need half of that. And now I'm ready to go ahead and set that in there. I'll just drop a little bit of hot glue so that it doesn't tumble out, and we'll be good to start adding our florals and greenery. Okay, so I'm going to start out with some greenery that I've had left over in my stash. I'm going to trim these off all really low, and so that I can tuck them into the bed. And I do appreciate you bearing with me with my voice. I keep having to stop to have a little bit of a coughing fit. So hopefully it's not too annoying with me continuously clearing my throat. But doing much better than I was last week. So that's the good news. But I went in and made sure that that floral foam was completely covered with the greenery. And now I have these adorable little yellow roses. These are from Michael's. They were part of my Michael's haul a week or two ago. I guess it was 2 weeks ago now. And I believe they were just $1. They were on sale, $1 for each of these picks. And I think it's got 10 buds per pick, if I'm not mistaken. And so I'm going to use 2 of those picks that I cut down completely to fill in this bed. And that's going to be it for this one. I think it's adorable, but let me know what you think. DIY number 3. Okay, this is my Amazon box. I was very excited to get this package because I had something super cute in mind for a project. Really easy. This is going to be a super easy DIY, but those were little reeds. I think it came in a pack of 100. It was like $9 or something on Amazon. And this is fractionated coconut oil. This is, I guess, used for like back massages and things. It had that little pump. I'm not going to use that. This is a glass little container from the Dollar Tree. I thought it was super pretty. These are some fragrances I had picked up a long time ago from the Dollar Tree as well. I was going to use them for candles. And I also have my essential oils that I've had in my stash. These essential oils had come from Amazon a long time ago. I've had them for quite some time. But I'm going to use about a half a cup of fractionated coconut oil and pouring it right into my little glass container from the Dollar Tree. I think these are such pretty little bottles, and we are going to make our very own reed diffuser. Now, I did a bunch of research online to see what kind of oils were best to use for this. Ultimately, I did determine the fractionated coconut oil is best. I didn't have any light oils in my home. I suppose you could use vegetable oil, but everything I was reading was that it's too thick and it won't go up the reeds as quickly as you need it to. And so you just won't get the same effect as you will with the fractionated coconut oil. And it doesn't smell like coconut. But I've just been adding in some of my essential oils. I think ultimately I ended up with about 50 or 60 drops of each of the 2 oils I'm using. I am using orange and peppermint because those were the scents that I wanted to use. But you can use whatever you would like. If you want something like sandalwood or vanilla or whatever, you can make this custom to your senses. And now I'm going to grab out some of these reeds and I'm going to pop in, I think I ultimately used 7 of them. The more reeds you have, the more scent you'll have in your space. And that is it. I think this is awesome. It is a super pretty air freshener. You can put it wherever you want. And I love it. I hope you love it too. DIY number 4. All right, this is a farmer's market calendar from the Dollar Tree. I have had this in my stash for a while. At first, I thought I would use this garden sign, and then I decided I wanted to use the second one here. I think they're both super pretty. I might use the other one another time for another project. But for this one, I'm going to go ahead and trim it down. I have a piece from the Dollar Tree. It's kind of like a giant tag sign that I'm going to be using. So I just want to make sure I get this trimmed down properly to fit. Oh my goodness, excuse me. To fit on that. And so using my paper slicer, trimmer, whatever you want to call this, to get that done. Just making sure that I've got everything kind of centered on my design so that I've got the same frame all the way around for the most part. So this is that tag sign that I was telling you about. And this is just like a balsa wood. I think that's the right term for it. So I'm going to just score that and get that top part of the sign off so that I have just a regular rectangle for my piece. And I was just checking this out to see if it really is the same dimension top to bottom, and it was. For whatever reason, when I was looking at it, it didn't look like it was symmetrical, but it actually was. It's probably the wood grain that was throwing my eye off, but I'm just using my X-Acto knife and scoring it right along the edge of the ruler. And once I score it several times, I'll be able to kind of bend it a little bit and open up that scoring a little bit and get my knife in there to cut through it a little bit more. I don't want to just snap it off because I don't want to have a lot of jagged edges on there, and I don't want to damage the piece. So I was just taking my time and doing that, and it came right away. Now, as you might have seen, this does have cork on the back side of it. So more to come on what I'm going to do with that. But right now I am focused on adhering my image to the front side of this piece. So I was trying to decide if I wanted to trim off more of it, and ultimately I decided not to do that. I'm just going to get it lined up on here, centered, and adhere it, and worry about the edges later. So getting out my Mod Podge, you can use whatever kind of Mod Podge you want. This just happens to be a big thing of matte Mod Podge that I have. I'm going to give it a good coat. I'm going to wait for it to be dry. I think I did use my heat gun to help it along with dry time. Yep, there it is. And now you might notice that I also have parchment under it, and I have my heating pad under, not heating pad, but my mat, my heat press mat underneath it. You can't really see it there yet. There's my easy press. I am going to be using that to press this down on here. You could totally use an iron. I'm just going to use this on here for about 30 seconds. I did flip it over and press the other side of it too, trying to make sure that it's flat. That's why I'm kind of pressing it up against my table surface right now, making sure that it stays flat because I didn't want it curving. And now I have some of the large paint sticks that I'm going to be using to make a frame. Now, as you can see, there's a little bit of a ledge around the cork on here. I'm going to use that to my advantage. I'm going to be doing a double frame on this. Because my image goes all the way to the edges of the piece on the front side, I'm going to create a ledge for the frame to sit on. It's going to come, you're going to understand what I'm talking about more as I go here if you don't already get what I'm trying to explain, because I don't know that I'm explaining it very well. But I'm using my miter saw, my little hand miter saw. This is also from Amazon. I got it a few years ago. It was only like $12. I thought it was great. It came with the saw. I thought it was a great buy, but it allows me to cut mitered edges on my smaller pieces of wood. So super handy. So I'm doing that with a bunch of my paint sticks, and we'll create our own frame for this. So I'm going to do a frame on the back side, and then I will also do a frame on the front side. So I know it seems like maybe a lot of work, but I think it turns out absolutely beautiful. So I'm going to measure off the shorter part of that mitered edge that I need, that's going to line up with the cork edges, essentially. So we're going to butt the frame for this backside up along the edges of the cork. It took me a minute to figure out how to get this lined up to cut it to make sure that my angles were going the same way or the opposite direction, so that it lined it up, but I got her done. So I'm going to do the top and bottom pieces here. I'm just making sure that it's going to line up properly, and it does. So I'm going to use that first one to measure the second. I was hoping to get 2 pieces out of 1 paint stick, but it was just a little bit too short for what I needed to do because of that handle on the paint stick. So I ended up just using a 4th paint stick for this. So all in all, I actually needed 8 paint sticks. So that would be 2 2/3 packages, because they come in packs of 3. So it was $3 for the paint sticks, $1 for my wood piece that I'm using as my sign backdrop or back holder, whatever you want to call it, and then $1 for the Dollar Tree calendar. So this project is about $5, right? So, and for what it turns out to be, I think it is well worth the $5. So I'm just measuring off the long edge here. I'm gonna make sure that I have what I need, but it's here that I realize I really want that edge of the wood where the cork goes all the way to the edge because of where I trimmed that off. So I did score the cork, and now I'm going to come in and just scrape away the cork along that edge. It was about a 1/2 inch edge all the way around. So I cut it off at the half edge mark with my X-Acto knife, and just using my little scraper tool thing, spatula, that's the word I was looking for, to get under it. And that ended up working just fine. It doesn't matter that it looks a little icky because we're going to cover it up in just a minute. So now I'm going to measure that off, make sure I understand how long my other pieces need to be. I'll go ahead and measure them off and get those cut down. I won't put you through the pain of all of the cuts. We're just going to speed right through this in a second, but measured that off and went ahead and got that cut down as well, and did that with all of the pieces for this back frame. Now you might have noticed that these pieces have ruler markings on them. So I'm just being mindful of that. And I ultimately had them on the back side facing forward because I know that they're going to end up getting covered up. And that way my back side is going to be completely clean, as will be my front side. So I'll show you a little bit more about that in a moment, but right now I'm just trying to make sure everything is going to line up. It's looking really good. So going to cut down my 4th piece, and then what I'm going to want to do is sand all of my edges, because when you do hand cuts like this, especially with unless you're using a finishing saw, you will have little jagged pieces. You just want to make sure you sand off your rough edges, essentially. So lining it up once again, you can see how it's going to frame out. That is what the backside will look like when we're done. So gonna sand off all of those edges, make sure that they are nice and clean so they butt up to each other nicely when we're ready to put the frame together. So got that done. I'm going to go ahead and use my wood glue. Now my nozzle on my wood glue is damaged, so I have to open it up and just use a popsicle stick. That's why I'm doing it this way. There's no other reason. And this is my Gorilla Glue wood glue, but you can use whatever brand of wood glue you have. It doesn't need to be the Gorilla brand. So getting ready to do this, I'm going to put a little bit of hot glue in between the wood glue dots, just so that I can continue to work with it. It's going to hold the piece together while that wood glue bonds. Starting at that bottom, and I'm going to work my way around the piece. So doing the same exact thing. I had to get another little thing of of my hot glue. And going to work this all the way around, just making sure my edges butt up against each other, keeping them as tight as I possibly can. And this came together really, really nicely on the back side. I do have I think I mentioned this before, but I do have the ruler markings facing the front so that my back side is nice and clean. And then this is all going to get covered up, not the back side, but the front side with the ruler markings. That is all going to be hidden by the second layer of the frame that we're going to do. So we're essentially creating a ledge like what we had on the back, but we're creating a ledge for the front for the frame to adhere to. That's essentially what I've done, and that's why I'm doing a double frame on this, because I didn't want to cover up any of my image. I certainly could have done that, but I wanted to preserve as much of the image as I could. Now I do have that piece that's kind of wrapping around. Oh, and there you can see the ruler markings, but again, that's going to get completely covered up. So the design does wrap around the edges here, which I decided I wanted, because that way I can butt the frame up against it and it will be completely sealed in around the edges of that picture. Just trying to, I got all my pieces cut down. I'm just trying to get everything lined up here now, and making sure that it all comes together. I had a millimeter shy on my pieces here. So in the edges or the corners, they aren't completely butting up against each other. They're like, there's like a millimeter gap, but it's not a problem. I will come in later with some wood putty once I can get my hands on some. I didn't have any in my stash, but right now I'm just trying to make sure I can get it as tight up along the edges as I can. I noticed that there were some little bits of hot glue that had seeped out there, so I'm just trying to get that cleaned up. I did trim off a teeny tiny bit of the sign that once it wrapped around, it was even longer than it needed to be because it was kind of ending up on that frame base. So I just trimmed that off so that, again, I can get these pieces of framework butted right up against the edge of the design piece. So once I'm satisfied with all of that and that I've got it as tight as I possibly am going to be able to get it, I'm going to do the same thing that I did on the back side and come in with my wood glue and then a little bit of hot glue to secure it, and we'll be good to go. So trimming off a little bit more on this edge. I just ran that along the edge of the piece, and here we go with the gluing. I am reinforcing those corners because those edges right now are not sealed together on that base frame. So I want to make sure that those are nice and secure, and that the piece is solid. And this time, instead of working my way around, I opted to go top and bottom first, and then I'll bring the sides in. And this is just in my efforts to make this as tight as I possibly can to remove as much of those gaps in the corners as I can. But again, like I said, it's going to be fine because I'll just come in later with some wood putty once I can get some, and fill in those little gaps that I have in the corners. I think even if I weren't to do that, this is a beautiful piece, and I think it can stand on its own. You can certainly stain the frame as well. I'm still debating on whether I actually even want to do that because I do love that natural wood color. I think it's really pretty. But let me know what you would do. Would you stain the frame or would you leave it as is? Part of me is thinking stain it with the antique Waverly wax, because I think it would match nicely with those little pots in the picture. But let me know what you would do. I'm just getting this completely sealed down, and that's going to be it for this one. I didn't add a hanger to this just yet, but it would be easy to just add a quick little hanger to the back of this, and it is going to be done. Here I am just still trying to force those edges together to the best of my ability, but that's going to be it. Let me know what you think of this one. I'm going to show you the final shot of it here now. Okay, everybody, that's it for today. If you enjoyed the projects, please remember to give me a big thumbs up, leave me a comment, let me know which one was your favorite. And until the next time, be well, be kind, and make it a great day. Thank you so much for watching. Take good care. Bye.